Participants joining. So my name is Jay Stansel. I'm a board member at the Benefits Law Center and really want to welcome you to the CLE. I'm retired from being a public defender for 26 years. And I unfortunately, later in my career, I just started really paying attention to what's happening to my clients after I'm done with them on their case. And as a consequence, though, halfway through my time at the Federal Public Defender, I built a great working relationship with the excellent attorneys at Benefits Law Center, because it's such important work that they do. And for my client in the criminal defense posture, all too often we forgot about what's going to happen to them when I was done with them. So we are going to be starting here in a matter of a couple of housekeeping matters before we move into it. First, the front slide includes the WSBA CLE number. You'll need to apply for this yourself. We're not going to report your participation today, but it's simple enough. And if you have problems with that, you can contact our office and we can guide you through that. It's pretty straightforward. You just search for that CLE number and report that you attended. It's 1 point credit for CLE credit. We will be recording this, so that's for your future reference, so that you can gather that information. Post will email that link to the recording to you. There will not be additional materials following this. It's just the recording and the PowerPoint that Kate will be presented. During the webinar, we will monitor in the chat any questions that you have. So please feel free to put your questions there. I think Kate will be, her intent is to have time at the end to answer all those questions. And if it becomes unwieldy, we can interrupt in the middle of the presentation and try to cover some of the ground that she's covered. But she and I will be looking at those questions as they come, but be sure to add them in and we'll keep track of that. So with that said, I want to introduce Kate Means, the staff attorney. And before, obviously, one thing I want to say is how important the work is. I've been with BLC for 3+ years now. They do wonderful work. We are funded through grants and donations from folks like you. So with the CLE, it's for free. We really appreciate firsthand that, first off, that you are here learning about this important information. But if you have the ability to donate to our organization, they will put in the chat how you can donate, either by online with our website or by texting to the number 44321. And you just text the message "give" to numeral 2 BLC. That it caps GIVE numeral 2 BLC. So that's both the link and the text approach to donations are put in there, and we'll have some time to wrap up at the end when I'll make another pitch for you. So with that said, welcome again. Kate Means is a staff attorney who joined BLC in September of 2019 as a temporary paralegal. Then after passing the bar, Kate rejoined the team for the remainder of 2020, doing important work focusing on serving clients at BLC that have cases born out of the COVID-19 pandemic to ensure that they are economically stable and get the benefits for some of the supports that the government initiated at that time for poor people and homeless people. In January of 2021, Kate joined her staff as a permanent basis as a staff attorney serving people with all kinds of Social Security problems. And that's why she's here to give her talk today. So with that, Kate, why don't you take it from there?
Yeah, thank you for the introduction, Jay, and thank you everyone so much for being here. Today, I'm going to try to cover a variety of subjects relating to seniors 55 and older and Social Security benefits, and specifically some special concerns and issues that have come up during the COVID pandemic. Just to give some background information, there are two main types of Social Security benefits. That is Supplemental Security Income, or SSI, and Social Security Disability Insurance. And both of these benefits are available on the basis of either being a certain age or on the basis of showing that you are have a disability that makes you unable to work. But the programs have different rules and slightly different eligibility rules. So for SSI, that's a benefit that is not connected to your work record. If you are under 65, you can get SSI benefits if you show Social Security that you are too disabled to work. And then at reaching age 65, you can receive those benefits just on the basis of being 65. You're presumed no longer able to work as long as you're financially eligible. And that's a pretty big caveat because the financial eligibility rules are really strict for SSI. You can't have more than $2,000 worth of like money or things you own, excluding like one home that you live in and one vehicle. You can't earn more than $1,300 in a month or else you become ineligible. And if you earn any money, your benefits or receive money from other sources, or if somebody helps you with your rent or food, your benefits will be reduced accordingly for those extra sources of income that you have. The second big type of Social Security benefit is Social Security Disability Insurance. And that's a benefit that is linked to your work record. Before retirement age, again, you can qualify based on the basis of having a disability. And then at retirement age, you qualify simply because you're the right age. So work credits is, that is basically based on how much money you earn, and the amount that counts for a work credit changes every year. But in summary, it is you need to have 40 work credits in order to be qualify for SSDI benefits, and that's whether you are before retirement age or of retirement age. And you also have to have that 20 of them within the last 10 years. So you have to have been working fairly recently in order to still be able to claim SSDI benefits. During COVID, there have been changes in Social Security's operations, in addition to changes in people's lives and their need for Social Security benefits. They've suspended and reduced operations, closed offices for in-person visits, and in general, they've just been pretty vague about communicating with us, especially communicating with unrepresented clients. And so that has caused extra difficulties both for us in our work and for our clients trying to receive benefits. So I'm going to go a little bit further into retirement benefits here. Social Security retirement benefits, which again are under the SSDI umbrella that I talked about before, are paid to individuals at or near full retirement age. Full retirement age is 66 to 67 years old, depending on what year you were born. That benefit amount is tied to your work history, the taxes that you've paid, as well as to when you decide to start taking the benefit. And it's supposed to replace part of your wages from your highest earning 35 years of work. And then again, you have to have had at least 40 work credits. These benefits are subject to some financial rules, but not nearly as much as the SSI benefits. You can, if you don't retire at your full retirement age, you can retire early or late. Retiring late allows you to delay your benefits up to age 70. And the longer you delay it, the higher your monthly benefit will be. And then early retirement allows you to claim retirement as early as 62 years old. But the earlier you retire, the less your monthly benefit will be. So this is just an overview, a chart here of full retirement age. And in particular, there are ages linked to months here. And so the month that you reach full retirement age will matter, particularly if you're still working. So again, if you retire early, you get a lower benefit for each month. For example, if your full retirement age is 67 years, if you start at age 62, it will reduce your monthly benefit by about 30%. If you start at age 65, it will reduce your benefit by about 13.3%. And then it will be basically for spousal benefits, it's slightly different rules. The maximum a spouse can receive is a 50% of the full benefit amount. And COVID-19 in particular has really impacted the way that Americans are thinking about retirement. In general, Americans are much more worried, and many are planning on delaying retirement or thinking that they will have to. So if you're thinking about early retirement or late retirement, there are a number of things for people to consider. Some of these in bold, I'll go into a little more in depth, but you'll have to consider assets and expenses, any unemployment benefits you might receive or other retirement benefits, and then your health and health needs. Some things more specific to Social Security. One is the break-even age. This is something that there are calculators available online to do this, but basically it's a point in your life where the total benefits that you get before your full retirement age is equal to the total you would have get if you waited until reaching full retirement age. And so you figure that out by comparing your life expectancy and determining whether it makes sense to take benefits early or delay them to ensure that you have enough. Another concern when you think about retiring early is the Medicare eligibility gap. Medicare starts at 65, whether or not you retire early. And so if you retire early and you quit your work and you don't have access to your other health insurance, you may have a gap in healthcare. And so if you can't delay retiring until you're eligible for Medicare, there are a number of different options you can pursue. COBRA, if you have been recently employed, may be an option. Otherwise, spouse's plan or the public and private marketplaces. Now, if you are thinking about returning or continuing work during retirement age, on SSDI benefits, not the SSI benefits that I talked about earlier, you can do that, and after full retirement age, your earnings will no longer reduce your benefits. But before you reach full retirement age, your earnings may reduce your benefits. But at the same time, if you continue to work, you're adding to that pot of money that you've paid into your Social Security fund. And so if you continue to work, you may also end up increasing your monthly benefits just due to the wages that you're earning. So if you earn over a certain amount before you reach full retirement age, in this year, it's $18,960. Social Security deducts $1 for every $2 over that amount. And then the year you reach full retirement age, Social Security will deduct $1 for every $3 that you earn over a larger amount, $50,520. And that only applies to the months before you reach full retirement age. So if you reach full retirement age in the middle of the year, the beginning of the year is looked at a little bit differently if you're still working. Working as a senior during COVID-19 has also brought up different and increased concerns for people nearing retirement age. In particular, people 55 and older are the age group least likely to be able to work remotely. Older adults are at a greater risk of contracting COVID. And if they do, they have more debilitating symptoms usually. And the effects of age discrimination have also been exacerbated by the pandemic, probably due to the higher health risk of older adults. And then as I discussed earlier, people are just generally less confident in their ability to retire than they were before. Some concerns that will come up for seniors if they're trying to continue working during COVID-19 are going to be safe work environment. And in COVID particularly, that means safety from exposure to COVID, making sure that you are not, that everybody is masked, that people are vaccinated, things like that. So people who are going to be continuing to work during this period need to know that they have a right to a safe work environment. If there are issues, they can report that to the state as well as to OSHA. And again, age discrimination is something that seniors have a right to be protected against. Any decisions, adverse actions to release them from work or to not hire them. And those complaints can also be made on a state and federal level. And I've gone really fast here. I was worried I would be too quick, but a really helpful tool here that people can use to look at their benefits is the benefits retirement estimator. And that is something that can kind of show you how your benefits will look depending on what age you retire, depending on whether you continue to work, things like that. And because I finished pretty quickly, I'm going to, let's take a 5-minute break and then I'm going to come back for questions. So I'll be back at, we'll be back for questions at 12:25. everyone. We are back from break. I see that I've gotten a couple questions in the chat and I have addressed them a little bit. I just wanted to go into a little bit about what problems have arisen, especially during COVID-19 for folks trying to navigate this system. So in particular, as I talked about before, because Social Security has suspended their operations and has kind of reduced services and all employees are working from home. This has in particular caused a lot of issues for our clients who tend to go into Social Security offices in person to drop off their documents or to talk to somebody that can explain things for them. That is no longer an option for people. And at the same time, the phone lines have gotten extremely busy to the point that it takes a very long time to even get somebody on the phone at Social Security. So that has been one of the biggest issues during this time for us. And then something that is just on my radar that I'm sure we'll be seeing more and more of is the impact of long COVID symptoms. And I've read a number of times that we're really expected to see a big push in disability claims due to these longer symptoms that really haven't been studied very much, and that there may not be a ton of good evidence to show that this really will be long term. Looking at some of the other questions here. The differences in outcomes for unrepresented versus represented people with disability issues. It depends a lot on the barriers and resources that person has. There are a lot of cases when people can navigate Social Security themselves, but for those people who can't, the fact that we are able to interface with Social Security, talk to them about what they need from our client and explain those things to them in terms that they'll understand, as well as really be on top of Social Security to do their job. In those situations, it makes a difference. And I think especially right now when we're seeing Social Security not being very communicative with us due to their workload in the pandemic, it seems that it would be much harder than usual for somebody who's unrepresented to get a good result from Social Security. Any other questions that I can answer here? BLC serves the King County area, and in particular, we have attorneys that will, at least when we are not in pandemic mode, that will travel about the county doing outreach work with local community organizations and trying to meet people where they are. And so this is another thing that has been impacted by the pandemic, but that we have been really working to continue our partnerships as much as we can remotely. And I'm wondering if people have questions just about the basics of Social Security benefits, about because I didn't go into that a ton. But Social Security benefits in general are one of the few sources of public benefits that people can get that is actual money being given to them to cover their expenses, rather than something like healthcare or food stamps that's going to a certain place. And so one of the reasons Social Security benefits are so important is because, again, it's one of the only sources of money that people are able to get that they can use to cover whatever they need to that month. And so it's really been, in our clients' lives, it's a really important source of their survival needs. But it is unfortunately, as we've discussed, a pretty dense system to navigate.
Kate, and I think there was an early question, maybe you already covered this and I wasn't paying attention, though I should have been paying attention, that if somebody's living in an adult family home situation, does that kind of support diminish the benefits that the person is eligible for? Is that deducted from?
Yeah, so I briefly addressed that in the chat, but for somebody in an adult family home, and there was also another question I got earlier about Veterans Administration benefits. In both of those situations, it basically depends what kind of benefit they're receiving, whether they are receiving SSI or SSDI. For SSI benefits, any other source of income, which would include VA benefits. It would also include receiving your room and board or your health, your rent and food somewhere else. Those are both considered other sources of income. So for VA benefits, if you're on SSI, it would be reduced according to the benefit, or for having room and board somewhere else, SSI will be reduced by 1/3 for what is called in-kind support and maintenance. If you are on SSDI, neither the room and board from an adult family home nor the VA benefits would be considered earned income. So they would not be used to reduce your benefit.
Yeah, excellent. And the bottom line is it's complicated. All these things are complicated, right? And that's why you are.
Yes, it's complicated. On the care. So regarding the adult family homes, so if the care is paid for by the state, and I'm assuming that's versus being paid for. So if the adult in the adult family home is somehow paying for their care themselves out of another resource, then that shouldn't, then that would be them paying their own care and it wouldn't reduce their benefits. But if somebody else is paying for the care, whether it's the state or a private party, as far as I know, that doesn't, it would impact the benefit the same way, and it would still be that 1/3 ISM reduction.
And it's fine if we don't have any more questions, folks. So we can wrap up here in a little bit. Nothing wrong with getting class out early. It's still your 1 point CLE credit. A couple, let's wait for a few minutes. I will, Kate, unless you have any closing comments, I can close some myself and we'll see if some final questions roll in. A reminder that Kate's email is at the bottom. At the last slide, you'll get this slide. You'll get a link to a recording of the whole webinar, including these slides. So you'll be able to access it there, but it's pretty simple, kate@benefitslawcenter.org. Just to reiterate, as I said, free CLE, very welcome. You know, I think some of you may be already aware of Social Security issues and you're looking to tune up or ask specific questions. Those of you who aren't, hopefully we've enlightened you some. I know that, you know, in my life, I'm dealing with Social Security now because I've reached retirement age. But BLC in working with poor people and homeless people with disability and Social Security issues is unique in that focus in the state. I call it a tip of the iceberg project because though we are built to focus on King County, there really is no reason not to expand to all the counties in the state. In King County alone, roughly speaking, the numbers were that we served something like 1,100 people in last year. in King County, and there were an estimated 36,000 or 38,000 people in the county that were eligible for and could have used our help. So having an attorney makes all the difference in the world, especially if you are cognitively disabled or have a mental illness. That's your impairment. That's at the heart of things. If you can imagine navigating a complex bureaucracy by yourself and under the best of circumstances, and a lot of our folks, of course, if you're just disabled, physically disabled, but living in a tent, it's extremely hard to navigate it. If you have a mental illness, of course, it's extremely hard to even begin to navigate any bureaucracy. So with that said, thank you for attending, and please consider making a donation to BLC at one of those, at the link that was posted in the chat, or at the, by texting 44321 with the message "give" to BLC. That's GIVE in caps, numeral 2, and BLC in caps. And that's Haley put that back in the text right again. Thank you, Haley. And that's it, unless there are other questions. And do feel free to follow up with Kate, who continues to do her excellent work there. Thank you, Kate. And thank you, everybody, for attending.
Yeah, please feel free. I know, I think I probably just spoke a little fast here today, but if you have follow-up questions, I am happy to get into anything you are curious about via email. And thank you so much for attending.
Okay, bye-bye, you guys.